Wow, what a day! It's the 23rd day of September, and at 8:30 in the morning, we witnessed the opening program of the Philippine Travel Exchange 2020 held in Panglao Island, Bohol, Philippines. Truly, I am lost for words. The cultural performances were a source of pride, and the messages that followed were a source of inspiration and hope. I will not hold it for long. Please sit down and relax as we bring you the opening program of PHITEX 2020.
To our dear delegates and guests, wherever you are in the world, stay tuned to your screens and join us as we give our collective respects to the Supreme Being who guides us and puts the universe at work.
I couldn't see the sunshine through the shadows. I couldn't seem to find a song to give. Then in my darkest hour, you touched me with your power, and when I looked, your light was everywhere. The light of a million mornings filled my heart. The sound of a million angels sang my song. The warmth of a love so tender touched my life, and suddenly the light of a million morning star in me.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends,
Never tried to understand the sunrise. I only know it takes away the dark. I can't explain your healing, for
Ladies and gentlemen, as we wake up to a new morning full of hopeful beginnings, let us all rise for the Philippine National Anthem under the lead of the Lobok Youth Ambassador Band.
Esteemed delegates, guests, and participants, welcome to the opening ceremonies of this year's PHITEX. Let us tell you a story.
Our forefathers believed in the world of spirits. Spirits that rule the world, protected our natural environment and our ancestors from harm's way. They reside in the air, sea, and land. Our healers and priests, then called Babaylan or Bailan, sought their blessings and healing power all through the course of the lives of our forefathers.
Our ancestors in Bohol and their counterpart communities in the Visayas then lived from the bounty of the sea and the fruits of the land, which they cultivated and toiled. Much of their harvest they also exchanged for local trade or barter with neighboring islands.
Nalaso pa ang pupulang pagsisisi, pangingisda. Anong yaman na hindi binibigay ng pusa? Itong mundong balot ng yaman at hiwaga. Mapanganib ang mundo, mataas na ang alon, mapagbigay ang gubat, malalim ang dagat, papalusog ang mga puno, matakaw ang halimaw. Mabangis ang mga hayop, marupok ang biyangin, mapanganib ang mundo, malagbigay ang gubat, mapanugsog ang mga puno, mabalis ang mga hayop, malalim ang kuweba, matakaw ang ibon, maulap ang langit.
In Bohol, more than 400 years ago, lived a ruler called Dato Sikatuna. In confederacy of the other rulers, he has shown that he is an astute leader full of wisdom. A leader who does not run away from a fight in defense of freedom. A leader who is ready to advance his people's interests through treaties of friendships.
May di pinaka
a people for love for life in their souls and unwavering industries in their bronze. Availing the great gifts of Mother Nature, they spend their day-to-day existence harvesting its fruits and tilling the land for more yield. With this bounty in their hands, they share and offer them to their neighbors, either through sale or through barter.
And with these regular meetings with neighbors and strangers, our ancestors enhanced their worldview, their livelihood prospects, and above all, their ties and interrelationships. Through the tabu, the agreed upon days of meeting and exchange of goods, our ancestors also exchanged ideas and cultural practices, thus developing both culture and sense of intertribal identity. In the year 1565, a new race of people came, different in their looks, different in their ways, and in their intentions. At first, our people viewed them with fear and suspension. But later, they realized their arrival meant a different kind of threat, another kind of exchange possibilities. Thus our ancestor offered them an exchange of blood mixed with wine, the treaty of friendship we call the Sandugo.
With 2 drops of blood drawn using daggers from the breast of each of the contracting parties, then mixed with wine in a single cup. The mixture that is drunk, the liquid is shared equally, a symbol of brotherly tie, a concretization of the commingling of the East and West.
Miabot na ang katumanan, nga gitag na sa katigulangan, ato kini sa gubangon ng hagin, atong hamugon. Kung ang mithita sa kanunay batig-babaw, ato kasabutan, magbabungahon, malambuon. Sa dugo, kasabutan o pagpinayluay, sa dugo, pagambahan o pag-inangayay, sa dugo,
ipatibabaw sa kanunay. Sa dugo, ipatibabaw sa dugo. Kasabutan o pagpinayo ay sa dugo. Panambahan o pag-inangayay sa dugo. Panagdait sa pag-igsunay sa dugo. Ipatibabaw sa kanunay. Sa dugo, ipatibabaw sa
El Pacto de Sangre, the Blood Compact, or Ang Sanduguan. Since the time of our forefathers, we have always celebrated friendships, camaraderies, and communal joy through a dance that best depicts our nature as Visayans. Joyfully optimistic, welcoming and spontaneous, and all-embracing. The ancient dance called the Kuradang.
Thus, in the spirit of the Sandugo, let us end this beautiful occasion through the performance of this traditional dance. Our way of saying thank you for coming over to visit us and savor our culture. Ladies and gentlemen, the Kuradang!
Dali, magsandugo ta. Ato sa ulugon, pinaagi sa kuradang, sa kuradang. Ini mao ang sayaw gikan sa atong kapigulangan. Usa pag-inom ta sa panagigala, dili gaspi o sigatuna. Atong ipasigarbo ang mga mitit sa atong katawhan. Halamanang, manayaw ta, kuradang, kuradang. Kini ang pag-ambahan sa gawin sa atong katawhan. Legazpi ug Singapura. Ako ay pasigaro mga mingis sa kong katawhan.
Join us on the next chapter of travel and tourism as we rise above adversity and trouble and take in our hands the opportunities of better beginnings in the next 3 days of our conference. And like the legendary Sarimanok from Maranao that you see, we wish everyone good fortune for the mornings to come. As a public servant, he has served as Agriculture Secretary twice and Director General of the Presidential Management Staff. He also served as former National Food Authority Administrator, President of the Philippine International Trading Corporation, 3-term Congressman of the 3rd District of Bohol, and Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives. His distinguished career is established internationally. In 2007, King Juan Carlos of Spain awarded him with the Order de la Isabela Católica, and he was Philippine representative to the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, or UNFAO, in Rome from 2000 to 2010. For his services to the Filipino people, he was decorated with the Order of Lakandula, Rank of Bayani in 2010. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, let us welcome our Governor, Arthur C. Yap.
Maayong buntag kanatong tanan. And welcome to Bohol as we stage a most unusual Philippine Travel Exchange 2020 in Bohol. PHITEX 2020 is unusual because this biggest government-organized tourism trade meet is being held at a time of the greatest global pandemic that our generation has seen. As we speak, 31.4 million people all over the world are presently infected by the COVID virus, with close to 1 million deaths. But juxtaposed with those figures are more than 21 million people who have recovered from the virus as well, showing all that there are ways to confront, to manage, and to survive this affliction. PHITEX 2020 is unusual as well because it shows the courage and resiliency of the Philippine tourism sector. Despite the pandemic, PHITEX 2020 has brought together a severely impacted industry that has lost millions of jobs and billions in revenues. Yet, this industry rises here today in Bohol in defiance of the odds to reopen its doors once more and reclaim our lives from fear and uncertainty. If anything at all, the interest and excitement that PHITEX 2020 has generated shows us that tourism and our need to travel and explore our world remains alive and well for many of us. And instead of viewing COVID-19 as a total tragedy, in time we may actually quietly agree that this was the bitter pill that we all had to swallow to stop the world from the maddening tourism of consumerism, excess, and abuse. With COVID, tourism takes a new leaf, a slower one, and a more decisive one. A slower tourism to make us appreciate the fragility, the beauty, and the interdependence of our ecosystem. And a decisive tourism because there can be no doubt that we now need to make a clear stand on sustainability, care, and the resiliency of our world. Bohol stands proud to have been chosen to host PHITEX 2020, and along the way, finds its bearing itself. Like you, we are charting our course amongst the rough tides of those who want us to remain closed and others who want us to reopen our economy now. We are trying our best to balance these powerful forces by showcasing the beauty and the bounty of our waters and land, as well as paying homage to our culture of faith, patriotism, and the creative arts. But we are also doing so with eyes wide open to the need to ensure the safety of our visitors and our constituents through having testing facilities available, contact tracing applications in place, and contactless transactions, a regular feature of our tourism very soon. Only when we can be sure that we can safeguard the health of visitors and locals alike will we attempt to open up tourism in measured steps, one day at a time. Thank you very much for coming to Bohol and inspiring us to pick up where we left off last year. But this time, with a better sense of what we must prioritize and protect, beyond the glitz, beyond the hoopla, beyond the superficial. Thank you, Secretary Berna Romulo Puyat, for believing in Bohol and sending the Tourism Promotions Board under the able leadership of Attorney Antoinette Velasco Aliones and the DOT family to work with us. Here is to an unusual but successful PHITEX 2020 Bohol under a new and a better normal. Daghang salamat kaninyong tanan.
Thank you, Governor Yap, for those words of hospitality. As we reach out to your homes for this unique experience, let us all welcome the Chief Operating Officer of the Tourism Promotions Board of the Philippines and the Vice Chairperson of the 2020 PHITEX organizing team. Please welcome Ms. Maria Antoinette Velasco Aliones for her keynote address.
The other night, I met Mingoy and Roger as they were walking back to land, and I was preparing to run out to the shore. They call themselves seamen since they go out to sea every night to fish. But that evening, they chose to stay home because far ahead, the lightning and thunder have not abated, and we could feel the wind grow stronger by the minute. On my way back, I met Sixto and Rowena, his wife, who were preparing to sail. In my efforts to dissuade them, I told them that Mingoy and Roger earlier decided not to go out that night because of the inclement weather. Sixto replied that they don't have a choice, that if they don't take the risk, their family would not have anything to eat the next day. He then proudly told me that before the pandemic, they had a thriving seafood mini restaurant in Virgin Island, about less than half an hour away from here by boat. But COVID-19 took that away from them. I asked Rowena if she was not afraid to be out in the sea in their small boat amidst the turbulent waves. She replied that they are used to the perils of the sea, having survived a number of stormy nights, and that she strongly believes that God sails with them, constantly protecting them from harm. I knew then that her priceless gift in their economic dislocation is her perseverance in faith. Let me then take you a little back further to the weekend when we arrived. While we went through the protocols for hotel check-in, a group of blind musicians played the familiar upbeat notes that reminded me how one would not notice the time while waiting in the airport's pre-departure area before flying out of Bohol. The group leader approached me and with tears rolling down his masked cheeks, expressed gratitude for our visit. He said it was the first time ever for a long time for them to perform again, and that they were happy because performing means income for them. I held myself from giving him a hug, mindful of the concern for physical distancing, so as not to unnecessarily expose both of us to potential risks. And as he slowly retraced his steps back to his place in the band, he said, "Thank you, ma'am, for giving us hope." This brings me to my post-dinner conversation last night with Doer, the manager of this hotel, whom I observed since we arrived have not sat down for a minute, busily tending to all our needs, promptly addressing concerns to ensure comfort and safety of everyone, while wearing his fixed, smiling eyes that remained visible behind his face shield. I asked if he had dinner as it was past 9 p.m., and he replied that he was still full because he did not notice lunchtime and he ate lunch at 4 o'clock. I reminded him to eat his meals on time and told him it was necessary to keep his energy up. He emphatically said in Filipino, "Sabik na sabik." We have so much longing. We have been longing to serve our guests again. I really miss doing events, and now that you're here, we are just too happy and grateful for the opportunity to do what we love to do. It brings me joy to share these nuggets of stories of our tourism workers here in Panglao, Bohol, if only to spark inspiration by Rowena's unshakable faith, the blind man who saw through the darkness and found hope, and Doer's deep love for the work that he does in the service of tourists. Indeed, there are ultimately 3 things that last: faith, hope, and love. It is the same faith that fortified our resolve to stage PHITEX 2020, initially virtually and now partly physically here in Panglao, Bohol. Thank you, Governor Art Yap, and Bohol's political leaders, and your entire community here in the province for renewing our faith in the competence of our leaders who work hand in hand with stakeholders to promote our common good through this pandemic. It is the same faith that sustains us to overcome our fears. Like Sixto and Rowena, we know the risks out there, but we choose courage to manage these risks through our strengthened collaboration and minimizing them with our shared adherence to established protocols and continuously building our capacity to respond, mitigate, and contain incidents that may be crucial to our personal and community safety. It is the same sense of hope that we wish to rekindle in everyone's hearts so that we do not grow tired of exploring possibilities on how we can slowly, safely, and sustainably restart tourism and travel. May PHITEX 2020 plant that renewed sense of hope in us to constantly shift our perspective to one of optimism and what can be. It is the same spirit of love that ought to fuel our partnerships to restart tourism in a manner that allows for meaningful, memorable, and enjoyable travel experiences while keeping the safety and health of everyone we meet in the journey. It is that same love for our nature, our culture, our heritage, our food, our historical sites, our crafts, dances, and music that should spark and sustain our interest to travel again. Knowing that when we do, the Sixtos, Rowenas, and Doers in our midst keep their sense of dignity from tourism work. Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues in the travel and tourism industry, our sellers and buyers from 33 countries all over the world, welcome to this year's Philippine Travel Exchange. We pivoted this year's PHITEX to convey the message that we still mean business, even though it is business unusual, as we journey on through unusual times with not the usual challenges. Thank you to all of you who made this year's PHITEX a reality. You can see behind me that the PHITEX sales are up, and we at the Tourism Promotions Board Philippines look forward to having you all aboard. When you're ready, we shall sail safely. As I close, it is my distinct privilege to usher in the captain of our ship, whose leadership example also serves as our anchor in the industry, keeping us strategic in focus, steady in action, and strong in our resolve. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in warmly welcoming our very own Tourism Chief, the Honorable Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puya.
It is my honor and pleasure to keynote this historical ceremony opening this year's PHITEX on a hybrid platform that gathers 124 buyers from all over the world and 350 delegates from 121 companies here in the Philippines. Thank you to Governor Art Yap for opening the doors of Panglao Bohol to PHITEX, as our experience here further guides our current efforts to explore the development of travel bubbles or travel corridors within our islands in support of domestic tourism. A number of people have asked us why we decided to push through with PHITEX knowing that there is still a pandemic. We in the tourism sector acknowledge this reality, but we also heed our patriotic duty to persevere through this adversity and find ways by which to initiate efforts to pave the way to tourism recovery, even domestically for now, in order to restore jobs and livelihoods to millions of Filipinos. Allow me to put a perspective to our resolve in sustaining what we can do to help the tourism industry steer through the pandemic. Over the last few years, Philippine tourism was on an upward climb, peaking in 2019 when we recorded more than 8.26 million foreign tourist arrivals, a 15.24% increase from the 7.17 million in the previous year. Domestic tourism performance was also very strong, with over 109 million trips taken by Filipinos that year, an 11.26% increase from the previous year. Combined domestic and international tourism pumped 2.48 trillion pesos, amounting to 12.7% of the country's gross domestic product, a 10.8% increase from the tourism industry's contribution to GDP in the previous year. Employment in the tourism sector was also at a record high at 5.7 million jobs in 2019, 6.5% higher than the 5.36 million jobs generated in 2018. Along with other countries, the Philippines was not spared from the adverse impact of the necessary border closures and lockdown measures around the world. Visitor receipts from January to August of 2020 decreased by 75.15% compared to the same period in 2019, from 326.15 billion pesos to 81.05 billion in 2019. This year's PHITEX Hybrid Edition with a virtual component also demonstrates our capacity for adaptability and creativity in support of tourism recovery initiatives. I commend the Tourism Promotions Board of the Philippines for taking on the challenge I posed to them at the start of this pandemic, not to cancel PHITEX, but find concrete ways by which to innovate and allow us to gather today. And again, I thank all of you for your support to make this first virtual PHITEX a success. As you undertake your business meetings during the travel exchange proper, please be assured that we continuously forge collaborations here to ensure that we are ready when you finally visit. I have created a department-wide task force that is revisiting our tourism products and portfolios, not only to respond to the preferences of travelers, but also to enable us to pursue tourism in a sustainable, fun, but safe way. I wish all the participants of PHITEX a success in securing the best deals for our mutual benefit. I assure our Philippine sellers of the DOT's all-out support as we slowly reopen our destinations and transition into a new age of travel.
Thank you very much, Tourism Secretary Berna Romulo Puyat. For now, sit back, relax, and give us your focus because PHITEX 2020 is officially open.